Yesterday morning, I got up at 3 something. I got to the airport at 4 something. And I left my truck in the parking lot. And I said to myself, blink my eyes, I'll be coming back to my truck. It goes so fast. I wanted to stay longer. The challenge is I've got to be back Monday. And the flights tomorrow would have messed up tomorrow morning. Then they had an 8 o'clock, but it didn't get back into Knoxville until 9 o'clock the next morning, which was 25 hours on a red eye. So that just, I'm trying not to do red eyes anymore. Red eyes just plumb wipe me out. But I wish I could be here longer. This is our last lecture. It goes quick, doesn't it? So the goal I have for this last lecture, it's 12 till 7. But I'm here to help. That's why I'm here. So we'll go as long as you need. What I'd like to do this time is talking about what you can do to set your house up for a medical missionary program. And then do question and answers until y'all are ready to go home. But I'm here to help y'all. I feel guilty I can't be here tomorrow, but airlines just wouldn't work out of Portland.
Get you back next year.
There you go. So what do you do for a home, setting your home up for medical missionary work? The first thing you do is research. Our church, have any of y'all ever seen that flag that's yellow in color and it says, "Don't tread on me"? Did I talk about that last night? It says, "Don't tread on me." It was developed by the Culpeper Minutemen during the Revolutionary War. And on that, they had a rattlesnake on there. Remember the rattlesnake? And why was it a rattlesnake? Because it warned the British. A rattlesnake doesn't want to bite you. It doesn't. Just leave it alone. That's all it says. Just leave me alone. And so it starts rattling. Go on somewhere else. Leave me alone here. If you go step on it, now you messed with it. It's going to bite you if it has to. So when they came to America, the colonists said, "We're tired of taxation. We're tired of the kingship out of England. Leave us alone." And so they put that flag up. And it was the Culpeper Minutemen from Culpeper, Virginia, just north of Charlottesville. And now we see it all over the place, telling big government, whoever, leave us alone. I went to that church, and we would do evangelistic series. And we spend a lot of money. Many times we can get nobody. Sometimes we get one person. Never more than one person. And we were spending thousands and thousands of dollars every time. And a lot of time there. And it was just church members who came. And that's not bad for church members. It was good for us to hear the message. But it was not effective. And so you have to look at your outcome indicators. And if it's not working, you got to go back and reassess it. Again, same old ain't going to fix it. So what we did is for 1 year, for at least 4 hours, one Sunday a month, sometimes 8 hours, so for 12 months, we did medical missionary training for church members. We did cooking schools. We taught them how to cook. We taught them massage. We taught them hydrotherapy. We taught them herbs. We taught them lifestyle, how to develop a lifestyle program. For 12 months we taught them that. The next year we started doing programs. One of the problems was church was a barrier. In some areas the church is a barrier. Morristown, Tennessee. Did you know that the Seventh-day Adventists in Morristown, Tennessee sacrifice goats? That's what the community thinks. There's a goat farm next door. They don't sacrifice goats, but there just happens to be a goat farm next door. And they thought it was the resources for that church to use for sacrificing goats. there's crazy stuff that's said out there. So in Culpeper, for some reason, people thought we were weird, and they wouldn't come to the church. Even though we'd have evangelistic series somewhere else, they still wouldn't even come to them. So what did we do? We did that for 1 year. Then we started having classes at the hospital, in the boardroom, at the library. They had a place that had a nice big kitchen that was very nice. We normally had a low would have been in the high 30s. Usually it was in the 50s and 60s, people coming to listen to those classes that were from the community, not members. The lowest we ever had, I believe, was 27. What was the difference? They were interested in health. What did it say about preachers that are medical missionaries? They're twice as effective. The medical missionary work is the right hand of the gospel. If I want to go through that door and I put my hands behind my back, how do I go through that door?
Shoulder to shoulder.
Pardon?
You can still get through there.
I got to turn that doorknob. Or I could kick the door in and go in like a bull in a china closet. Do we ever go in like a bull in a china closet?
Most times.
Sometimes we do when we evangelize to people. So you take that hand, you open the door, and you walk through. The hand is the right hand is the medical missionary work. The body is the gospel. Which is the most important? The hand or the body? The body, the gospel. Absolutely. But God gave us the medical missionary work to be the hand that can allow the body to go through. So how do we learn this? So part of that program was they would come on Sundays and learn, but also they had homework at home. There was books like Ministry of Healing, Counsels on Diet and Foods. If you want to be an effective medical missionary, you've got to do the book work. How do you do, who's done chemistry? Anybody take chemistry? How do you even know how to do the stuff, what we did on the Bunsen burners and all that kind of, how do you know how to do that if you didn't go to class first and learn it? You got to learn it, and then you can start doing it. And the best way to learn it is, number one, read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That is how you equip your home with medical missionary work, is number one, equip your brain. You got to have academia, and then you have to have practical knowledge. But you got to get the academia. It's amazing when you start in Matthew, and when Jesus starts healing people, take your highlighter. You can't turn a page that you're not highlighting on one of those two pages. Inspiration says that Christ spent more time healing than he did teaching the gospel. Why? It works. It's how you take those barriers away. The class I did last week, we had 84 people there. The class I did a couple months ago or a month ago in another town, we had well over 100 people there. Most of that was from the community. From the community. Why? Because we talked about health. People are interested in health. They're tired of being tired. They're tired of being sick. They're tired of not having energy. They're tired of the side effects of the medication not working well. Who's ever grown okra? 1, 2, 3. Where's them girls from Africa? Y'all grow okra in Africa? Because that's where it come from. It came over from Africa. So, it's Friday morning. You get up. Okra's this long. Do you pick it?
No.
Okay. You go to work. And then you leave and you're gone for Sabbath. And Sunday you get home in the evening too late after dark. Monday morning you get out there and you go out to your garden, or maybe Monday night, and the okra's this long. What's the problem? It's too fibrous.
Yeah, it's too fibrous.
This is perfect okra, or at least for me. What's the Africans do? About like that? How about y'all? About like
Some zucchinis.
Pardon?
We have zucchinis. First they're like this, then they're like
Okay. And I call it the time of okra. We are in the time of okra. Right now, okra's this big. If you wait too long, it's going to be too long, too fibrous. And people right now are listening to the health message. We have a problem in America where we aim, and we aim, and we aim, and we aim. The Japanese were whooping us, where they would aim, shoot, aim, shoot. And Ronald Reagan put a program in called the Continuous Quality Improvement Program. Malcolm Baldrige was the man who put it into place, the Department of Commerce. And it was a program by which we were to catch up in the car industry with Japan. We were to catch up in the electronic industry with Japan because they were whooping us. As a tendency as Americans, we just kind of stall. And we need to take action. And we need to take action now on witnessing to people. And the medical missionary work is an excellent way of doing that. I think I've got some feedback there. So number one, read your Bible. See how Jesus did it. Jesus is the one that he was the true medical missionary. I have a friend in Minnesota that owns a bunch of banks. I went to school with him. And when I go see him, he always tells me that, what he does for training, that he gets a new employee in. He teaches them what is a real $100 bill. What is a real $20 bill. And that's all they study is the real ones. So when they see the fake one, that ain't real. And so you study the real, not the fake. The Bible is the real. And then you study ministry of healing. As Mrs. White said, when people would ask her, how do you learn this? She said, read the what? Red books. Remember when they used to be red?
Testimony.
Pardon?
The testimony.
The red books on health.
Oh.
Ministry of healing, mind, character, and personality, temperance, counsels in diet and foods. Read those books. They will give you the true knowledge. And then you can start reading Agatha Thrash. You can because Dr. Thrash and I would go and we'd speak, and people would ask this question. And I said, don't start with her book. I mean, she's standing right there, sitting out in the audience. Don't start with her book. Start by reading the Bible, start reading the Spirit of Prophecy, and then judge what she says based on what the Bible and Spirit of Prophecy said. And I say, Dr. Agatha, is that true? She'd go, absolutely. She was a humble lady. Great lady. I miss her. Study those. Study her. Study Neil Nedley, Proof Positive. Study Kellogg. Did you know that in 76, Kellogg had a problem and he got a disciplinary warning from God. pH 100. Physicians, it was testimonies to the physicians and helpers of the sanitarium. Read it. Kellogg had opinion. This is just how we do it around here. You got new ideas? You got ideas for us? That ain't what we do it around here. Continuous quality improvement was not Covey. It was not Deming. God had Kellogg. Yes, Japan's been doing it a long time. But here in America, Battle Creek started TQM, CQI. And God told Kellogg that, remember, have you ever heard the statement that said kitchens should be laboratories?
Yes.
That's where it came from, pH 100. And we got to improve and improve. And by the turn of the century, 1900, he told Ellen White that Kellogg was the best physician in the world. He obeyed the disciplinary action. He didn't get his dander up on it. He obeyed. Yes, he went off on some other issues, but study Kellogg. Great information on the health side. And then I study Harvard, as you see me quoting Harvard. You see me quoting Cornell. You see me, and I took courses from Cornell in nutrition, from Campbell. I study Mayo Clinic. I study Cleveland Clinic. I study Hopkins. And I see what research is there. I look at NIH, and I look at that research, and does it match up with the spirit of prophecy in the Bible?
That's what Kellogg said he did.
With health.
Yeah, because the other doctors asked him, how do you know which one of these things to do and which one's not to do? And he said, if it goes along with what Ellen White says, I embrace it. If it doesn't, I leave it alone.
Kellogg was considered 10 years ahead of everybody else. Even his friends, the Mayo brothers, he was 10 years ahead. You got to get knowledge. You cannot be a fireman and just walk into the fire hall and you got a fire truck. You got to go to fire school. You got to learn fire science. You've got to learn how to use the tools on a fire truck. You got to learn how to use jaws. You got to learn how to use the different tools that we use for attacking fire, or for hazmat, or for medical issues. You can't just be there and have a truck that has all those supplies. You can't be a house that just has those supplies. You got to learn how to use them. So you need two things: academia, and then you need the supplies to do it. You need the tools. And that's how you learn the academia. And if you have the opportunity, go to a community college and learn anatomy and physiology. And then as you're learning that, compare it with what inspiration says. Because God is He knows anatomy and physiology. But you're still going to learn a lot of stuff that is not in spirit of prophecy. You're going to learn some things that is good science. Then what tools can you have? First, you need to be in good health yourself. You cannot be a doctor and be effective. How many times years ago I heard people say, my doctor told me I got to quit smoking, and he smokes himself. My doctor told me that I need to lose weight, and he's 325 pounds. So you need to be healthy yourself. And you need to follow those 8 laws so that when you teach it, you can do it. Yes, there's other tools. Can you grab that suitcase that's in the kitchen? I apologize. I forgot to get it. There are tools that you can apply. There's herbs. And herbs come in 3 different ways. They're the basic herb, which is, like peppermint, spearmint, that you can make a tea out of, that you can make a poultice out of, that you can grind up and put it in a capsule. And that's like food. Herbs are food, actually, many of them. But that herb is only going to last definitely 12 months. It doesn't go bad, but it starts losing potency. But it'd be good if you could use it in 6 months. But what if you want that herb to last longer? What if you want it more convenient to where you can take it with you and you don't have to make tea where you're going? Then you can do an extract. And the extract is where you you learn how to do extracts, and you can make the extracts up. And it's a lot faster as you're helping somebody. You can make your own extracts. And you're using glycerin and distilled water. When you make an extract, you have to have it at least 60% glycerin and 40% distilled water. Less than that, you can have pathogen growth. So most people don't want to flirt on the edge right there. So usually they'll do 65, 35. 65, 30. There's some people who do 70, 30 because it's just easier to do math, 70, 30. But if you get too much glycerin, it starts getting a little sweet in taste. And thank you so much. And so when you make your extracts, that's something that will last now a year and a half, 2 years. It's like putting food up. Y'all put food up?
Yes.
Y'all know what putting food up is? So an easy way to put food up that you can do is you can make extracts. I don't like tinctures because tinctures have alcohol. And if I cannot use alcohol, that's what I want to do. But if you want it to be herbs on steroids, I mean, I'm talking strong stuff. You can do essential oils. 1 drop of peppermint essential oil. To get the same medicinal benefit out of tea, you're going to have to drink 28 cups of peppermint tea. That's strong stuff. That's super concentrated. How do they distill it? Or how do they make it? They're either going to distill it. You'd think distilling would be an easy thing in my country. We distill our corn. But you can buy a distiller and a home unit there and distill the herbs. Some herbs, though, you have to do a press to make the essential oil. But some you can distill, and that will give you your essential oil. There's several keys to essential oils and herbs. As I mentioned last night, you want to pick it or have it. You want to where it's grown and what part of the world is the most nutritious. Like lavender, not in the U.S. You want it from Europe. If you want kudzu, you better get it from southeast United States because the best kudzu in the world is the southeast United States. It grows a foot a day. Better than China and better than Japan, even though Japan brought it to us. So you get your herb from where it grows the best. You go and you get it where it's harvested at the best time. And so you can do an essential oil. This is oil of oregano. And now this is mixed with some olive oil. I didn't mention that last night, and so I need to give you some more information. When I do oil of oregano, it's not oregano oil. That's pure essential oil. I do oil of oregano, which is 25% oregano oil and 75% olive oil. That's how I do the 10 drops under my tongue. I would not do 10 drops of oregano oil on my tongue. Oil of oregano, I will. You turn the words backwards to determine which way it is. But as you look at essential oils, learn your herbs. One of the best tools to put in your tool cabinet is a book called, who works in healthcare? Who knows what the PDR is? Physician's Desk Reference. The same company makes a book called PDR for Herbal Medicine. It's a great book. Buy it used. Don't buy it new. It's expensive. And it will tell you the indications, contraindications, the dosing. It will talk about, can pregnant women use it? Can nursing women use it? It just gives you all kinds of information. What medications you can't use it with. You have to be careful with herbs. Some herbs you have to be careful. So you need to know what you're doing. Some things you can't give a woman who's pregnant. Now, I know a lot of the herbs say don't use if pregnant or nursing because they just haven't done the research and they don't want to kill the baby. But some things, no, you can't do it. It could be harmful to that baby. Some herbs can dry a mother up. So if a mother's nursing, you don't want to take an herb that dries her up. And so you want to learn your herbs and how to use it. And the PDR is a great tool. And if someone gives you a hard time, that's if you're from a medical background and they say, it's just old, folklore stuff. Well, look, it's the same book we use for drugs. The same company makes it. And look at it here. Boy, it does, doesn't it? And so it's a great tool to use. It's very conservative. It's not very aggressive. So you're going to be safe. And then you want to start using herbs that you can, playing or using the herbs, growing the herbs. So how do you know what herbs to start growing? Look at your medical problems. Look at your family's medical problems. Look at your neighbor's medical problems. Look at your friend's medical problems and grow the herbs that's growable in your area that could help them You know those people. Start growing those herbs. Get to know those herbs. Just choose 10 herbs. Just 10. Based on the need. Get to do good in those herbs. And once you start growing those herbs, then you can start adding some other herbs. But if you can grow your own herbs, you know what you've implemented the soil with. You know when you've harvested it. And using native herbs are great. Y'all have an herb here. We have an herb at home called yellow root. Your herb here is called Oregon graperoot. I don't believe that will grow at home. So I wouldn't even try to grow that at home. But I don't know if yellow root will grow here. God has put things in different areas. I get calls from the Caribbean. Walt, what herbs do I need to use? I tell you what, talk to an old woman or an old man in your country and find out what they're using. I was at the big park there right on the river next to Tanzania. You could see Tanzania. And the ranger told us, do not get out and walk in the grass because there's black mambas there. And you're going to be 3 hours drive from Kigali once you get in there. And you will die. I don't know, is that true? 3 hours you might die from black mamba? Okay. And so I asked the ranger, is there some herbs that some old men would know that would be an antidote? And the ranger looked. And he looked to see if anybody's looking. And he said, yes, there's 3 herbs. The problem is you got to find the old man, you got to find the 3 herbs when you get bit. And you may not have time. But as you talk to the old people in your area, do you have Native Americans here? If they trust you, because we're not very trustworthy to them, because herbs are like religion to them. Get to know them. Get them to teach you what is native here, herbs, and how to use them. Because when we get to a time of no buy, no sell, is that coming? Yep. Can you get chaparral out of Southern California or Arizona mountains? No. Can you get kudzu from Tennessee? No. So find out what will grow here from those people who are either the older people who might know, or an herbalist, or go to the Native Americans. Those guys, they know stuff. And get their trust. And you might even be able to share Jesus with them. You know, do some bartering. Religion for herbal knowledge. Religion knowledge. And so grow your own herbs. And then you can start making teas. You can start making your essential oils. Your extracts. And then you can, at the time, while you can, get some essential oils that are very beneficial. I have a guy that comes to me. He's been coming to me for a number of years. He came in one time. He had to quit working, had to quit driving because he had epilepsy. And he would have sometimes one grand mal seizure a day. One day he came in and this guy eats no fruit. And the vegetables he eats would be potatoes.
French fries.
Yes, his French fries. He eats meat and processed whatever. But he does not eat fruit. And so Mary Lou, I was wanting him to eat a smoothie. And I said, you'll really like it? And so finally one day he goes, okay, I'll do it. So Mary Lou makes him a fruit smoothie in the deli. And so he gets up, and she has it ready, and so he gets up, starts to walk to her, and he goes, boom, he's on the floor in a grand mal seizure, chewing his tongue. We tried Copaiba. Who's heard of Copaiba? It's from Brazil. It's the most anti-inflammatory phytochemical or plant in the world that we know of. It's extremely anti-inflammatory. And so it affects the cannabinoids, and it helps with that. And cannabinoids can be important for seizures. And so we encouraged him to use Copaiba. He does 4 drops 3 times a day. He's been several months now, over 4 years, without one seizure. Now, is that a tool that could be beneficial? Absolutely. People use it for going to sleep at night. They'll use it for essential tremors. They can use it for Parkinson's. So there's a number of things that you can use essential oils for that you can put in your arsenal. Hydrotherapy. Hydrotherapy is an amazing tool. I shared with you all last night about the 97-year-old man who was a nurse that when I went into school, that he told me, he said, Walt, you're going into healthcare. I need to share something with you. You may have to deal with this someday. And so he taught me about fomentations to the chest and how that worked during World War I for the influenza. And then I learned how to do revulsive treatments where you put your feet in hot water and you do a hot to the chest and the back at the same time. And you get even more effect out of that with an ice rag to the head. Hydrotherapy is super powerful. Whether you're doing a hot foot bath, hot and cold. I said earlier that children should be taught medical missionary work this morning. I was in Chattanooga teaching a class at McDonald Road Church. We were teaching a bunch of kids from kindergarten to 12th grade, Sunday through Thursday. Sunday through Thursday. I don't think we did it Friday. We may have done Friday morning some. And Wednesday morning, a lady comes in and she says, I need to tell you something. I mean, just strong. I need to tell you something, what happened last night. I'm going, oh boy. She had a kindergartner. What happened? Did our kindergartner come and tell her that some little kid pulled her, ponytail? What happened? She says, I came home last night and she said, I told my daughter I couldn't do nothing because I had a migraine headache. She said, so basically leave me alone. I'm going to bed. She says, I got to the house. My daughter took me by the hand, took me to the kitchen, sat me down in the kitchen chair, told me to stay. Went and got a bucket, a basin, filled it with hot water, put it at my feet. Went and got another container of ice water and 2 washcloths. Came over and she said, she picked my feet up and gently put my feet down into the hot water. She said she went and put one ice rag, wrung it out and put it on the forehead. One ice rag and put it right here. And then she prayed, kindergartner, that God would bless that hot and cold treatment. She says, my migraine went away. A kindergartner. What excuse do you have? Well, I ain't no doctor. I'm not a nurse. I never took anatomy and physiology. A kindergartner. Inspiration tells us that when we do medical missionary work, that Christ will stand there beside us. No, He doesn't come and put His feet on the ground. But Christ will be there with you doing that treatment. Where do you have to lose? He will help us as we're doing that treatment. So hydrotherapy is huge. There's basic ones. There's fomentations, hot foot baths, cold mitten frictions. There's wet sheet packs. There's fever treatments. There's the douche. I talked about the douche. I enjoy the douche. You can do a lot with the douche. You put a person in a shower and you take a hose and you work their body. Probably one of the best douches I had was in Venezuela. And I backed up to a waterfall. Oh, whoa, is it massaging my back. We use it in firefighting. We clean each other's turnouts off. And we'll take the fire hose. That's an 1 3/4 hose. And we're, oh, that feels good. But in Africa, they use in the sanitariums, they'll use the douche for malaria. It's amazing what hydrotherapy can do. And then there's heliotherapy, sunshine or light therapy. Kellogg used the light therapy. And he found that incandescent light penetrated the tissue even further and better than even the hydrotherapy. We have problems with light therapy today with the incandescent therapy because they don't make the incandescent bulbs. It's a great treatment. You can take an incandescent bulb, lay a person who has a sinus that Mary Lou one time, and I was just starting the transition into this. And I was still working in regular health care. I worked a whole lot. And I came home one night and she says, I have not slept for 2 days and I am miserable. You understand that? You'd be miserable. And she says, I just have this sinus thing going on. And I can't sleep. I just read one of Dr. Agatha's books on home remedies. And I said, okay. So I did it. You know them shop lights you have for working on cars, guys? And she said, put a 100-watt light bulb in there. And we didn't have the LED lights back then yet. And I screwed that 100-watt light bulb in there. And then you took the caps off milk jugs or water jugs or something, and you put them on the eye to protect the eye. And then you hold that light 2 inches off the bridge of the nose. Do not do it yourself. Have someone do it. One of my students one time, she was a college student, and they know everything. And she was having some issues, and I encouraged her to do this treatment. But I said, have your mama or your daddy do it. She lived at home still. She came in the next day, and she looked like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. She fell asleep, and it burned her nose. Don't do it yourself. But it dried it dried all that up. She fell asleep, slept all night long, and it got rid of that sinus thing she was going. Amazing. And I learned about that in Thrash's medical missionary, home remedies book. So there's all kinds of treatments. And then I have mentioned about far infrared. Amazing what far infrared can do. Research far infrared. I had a lady come in. She had a cast on. She was complaining of a fracture pain here. And the orthopedist said it was not growing. He was going to have to do surgery. Well, she wanted something for it, so we tried the far infrared light. And actually, the far infrared light penetrated the cast. It was a plaster cast. Penetrated it. In 2 days, she said the pain was gone. At 5 days, we did it for 5 days. I don't know at what point this happened, but she went back to the orthopedist. He went and re-looked at it, and he says, it's growing. I don't have to do surgery. My friend who's over in North Carolina, that I've spoke about several times. He's Korean. George Kim. And I told him about the far infrared. He has put 4 lights, 2 saunas, and having amazing outcomes. He had a young girl that was in her late teens. Now she was still in high school, so she was, before she graduated from college. She was in sports, had a fracture, tib fib just above the ankle, and the orthopedist said it wasn't healing, and he was going to have to do surgery. And George asked, can I have her for 2 weeks? Give me just 2 weeks. And so George did the light. It's a 75-watt light. 750-watt light. 11 inches off, which is the recommendation of NIH. 20 minutes. He then put her in the sauna for 20 minutes. He did this for 5 days, for 2 weeks. She went back to the orthopedist and said, I don't have to do surgery. It's healing. God has given us simple things and natural remedies that we can use that is within the scope that we can use and we can do. Learn about exercise. Learn about different exercises you can do for helping people, stretching and that type of thing. Learn diet plans. Like we talked today, the Duke diet, the Cornell diet, the juicing. Juicing is amazing. The best thing I have found for autoimmune disease is to do a 60-day juice fast. I was speaking at a camp meeting in Minnesota. Did I tell you all about that? And there was, in the 18-year-old girl that looked like okay. I've known the family. I guess I had mentioned it to y'all. And so I've known the family for 10 years, or at that time had known them for 10 years. And this family they're a great family, hardworking farmers. And the father's also a contractor. And I mean, they're just hardworking. The girls are wide open. And I get to the camp meeting, I'm speaking at the camp meeting. And the girl is 18 years old, and she looks like a 90-year-old woman, and the mother having to lead her to walk. Assist her with ambulation. She just was terrible awful. So I went to the mom after she sat her down, and I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "We don't know. We've taken her all over the place." She said, "We even took her to Mayo Clinic. They're in Minnesota." And she said, Mayo Clinic just threw their hands up and said, she will be an invalid the rest of her life. 18 years old. How's she going to get a husband at 18 years old, an invalid like a 90-year-old woman? How's she going to be a mama? How's she going to be just for her own health? And so we prayed, God, what can we do? Give us wisdom, discernment. And the mother, the daughter, and I, after praying, we all felt impressed. You can tell I'm a fireman, can't you? That was his cue. It's the type of siren. And so I said, let's do juicing for 60 days. And they said, okay, let's go. We'll go home and we'll pray on it. I left, went back to Tennessee, and 9 months later, we were doing a program at one of the churches, and Uchie Pine was there. And this girl had worked for Uchie Pine. And there she was, wide open again, just doing everything like she'd done before. I said, how are you doing? She said, I'm back to normal. I said, what did you do? She says, Mom and I went home, we prayed, and God impressed us we needed to do it for 90 days. A juice fast for 90 days. She says, I got better. She said, then I would try adding food back and fall. And go back to juicing, and then I would try it again and fall. And it was only one certain food in any certain form that would make me crash. It was soy. What's the problem with soy today? It's the same as we see with wheat and with corn. It's super hybridized, and also it's sprayed with Roundup. And it didn't matter if it's soybean oil, soybean burgers, soybean anything. She would collapse. So she knows now she reads labels. She doesn't eat without knowing what's in that food, because she can crash like that 90-year-old woman again. And so juicing is amazing. Again, it's the best thing I have found for autoimmune issues. If a person has, let's say they have Hashimoto's, and the antibodies are crazy high, juicing is the best thing that I have found for that. So you learn how to juice a person safe. And you learn these different tools to use on nutrition. You learn how to do cooking schools, so you can also be able to help people. And I mean, as simple as smoothie recipes. But I tell you, what we were talking about yesterday is the biggest issue. We teach people, our cookbooks, our programs on 3ABN teach people to eat highfalutin food. Food for Thanksgiving, food for Christmas, food for Sabbath. But we don't teach how to make food that's reasonable and obtainable to do on a daily basis. That's where people fail, because we hadn't taught them how to do it. And maybe we don't know how to do it. I don't know. But it can be just the basic. I went to get a fire truck. It was actually a rescue truck several months ago, and one of my firemen went with me. He's 70. He's in his mid-70s. He's got a testosterone of the mid-700s. This guy's on fire. So we go get the fire truck, and he says, I'll make the food. We don't have to stop and get food. Since knowing them, he's become a total vegetarian. He eats healthy, and he and his wife. And he says, oh, my wife will fix the food. And so we stopped, and we had a little like a picnic thing, school box thing, and guess what he brought me? Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Was that easy? And then he had some nuts, and some. He had what did he have? I think he had some figs in there, but it was simple. I filled up on food. I felt good. It wasn't food that made me feel terrible, awful. It was simple. We can go back to simple. How many of y'all had peanut butter and jelly sandwiches growing up? I sure did. Yeah, and then my dessert was banana, or if I really got really good candy for to go to school, it was a little box of raisins. Remember those little boxes of raisins? That was the candy Mom said we could have. But if you can learn to cook food that's easy, healthy, something that's reasonable and obtainable, maybe you fix it on the weekend, then you can thaw it out or whatever it is. But we need to learn how to make everyday food that is healthy, that satisfies the tongue, satisfies the stomach, where you're not then craving to go get something else. That's important. Exercise. You need to learn about exercise, and I mentioned exercise a few moments ago. But learn how to do exercise programs, where you can do that HIIT training, where you can go fast and slow, where you use the mini trampoline. Mini trampolines are amazing. That's a great tool for you to have that you can put people on. A mini trampoline increases the pumps on the lymphatic system tenfold. Don't do what I did. Who remembers Harold Cherney at Eden Valley? Cherney talked me into getting 3 nice mini trampolines. We had them, one from Montgomery Ward's. And so I got some nice ones, put them in the gym, I put our patients on it, and the next day, all those patients were sick with flu-like symptoms. So I called Cherney. I said, Cherney, this is what happened. What happened? What did he do? Like Agatha Thrash, he started laughing. He said, Walt, what did you do? I said, 15 minutes, BID. 15 minutes twice a day. He just started laughing again. Cherney, why are you laughing at me? He said, I did the same thing. He said, it makes sense, but he says, those people who come to you, they are so sedentary, their lymphatic system is so clogged up, you turned it on wide open and the liver just couldn't handle it, and they got the Herxheimer syndrome. And it gave them flu-like symptoms. He says, here's what you'll do, and you'll never have another problem. And I have not. And that was in 2001. He says 5 minutes, 3 times a day for the first week. Then go 10 minutes, 3 times a day for the second week. And then you can do your 15 minutes 3 times a day, whatever you want to, and you'll never have a problem. He was exactly right. Never again have I had a problem. But a mini trampoline is amazing. I don't know, when's SpaceX supposed to be back with those astronauts? Does anybody know? What? Okay. Tomorrow?
Yeah, they're coming back.
I thought it was a week.
Was those guys coming back, according to NASA, there's a high probability they're going to have bone density issues because of weightlessness. And what tool does NASA put their astronauts on when they come back from space? A mini trampoline. Because it drives the calcium into the bones. It's a great tool for that. But you need one that tapers, not one that is rectangular, like a cell phone. But it's tapered. Remember the old rocking horses we had when we were kids in the springs tapered? You want a mini trampoline that the springs taper, like a football. Because if you have it rectangular, it stops faster at the bottom, stops faster at the top. It's harder on the joints. It's harder on the organs. And you want to, kind of like that rocking horse that we used to ride back and forth, so easy. That's what kind of mini trampoline you want. I've got a mini trampoline I've had on my porch now since 2002. I had it on the porch in Virginia, and I've had it on the porch where I live since January '04. It rains on it, it snows on it, and it's doing great. And we bounce on it, and then I have one at the office. But a mini trampoline is great.
Would you give us the frequency again?
5 minutes 3 times a day for the first week. 10 minutes 3 times a day for the second week. And then you can do 15 minutes, 2, 3 times a day from there on. And what that does is it helps with balance. So I use it for folks that have balance issues like MS, geriatrics, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. It's great for balance. It's good cardiovascular, increases the cardiovascular system. But it also, when you bounce on a mini trampoline for 5 minutes, it increases the white count 3-fold for 1 hour. So you can put a person who has cancer on it 5 minutes every waking hour that they are at home, and that keeps that white count up 3-fold to fight the cancer. Yes, sir. Oh.
When you're doing the trampoline, there's the, regular just bounce, and there's the fast, and then there's the one where you bend it. It doesn't matter. Just do it. That's it.
Start off with a health bounce.
Okay.
Like this, or like a kid bouncing in a crib. And then you can get more aggressive. Or if you have a person that has problems, they're in a wheelchair, they can still get on it. Well, let's not get to that yet. Let's say a person that just does not have good balance. Well, the bar helps, but So when I started firefighting in 1980, we rode the back of the. Is the firefighter here? He was here last night. We rode the tailboard, and there's sometimes that we would. And one of the guys would rush out, and we were ready to pull out and get on. He didn't have his coat on yet, and he'd jump on the tailboard, and so then he would, as he's putting his coat on, we would stand behind him, and our feet about to fall off, and we're hanging on, and then we kept him from falling off as he finishes donning his turnouts. Well, you can do the same thing on the mini trampoline. He can hang on to it if you can hang on to here. And then your therapist, you, can stand behind it, and you can, and he may not have the strength to bounce, but you can bounce. And that makes him go up and down. And that gets those lymphatic pumps going. It gets the immune system going. It gets the heart, generating more circulation. And then, thank you, sir. You're welcome. And then a person who cannot stand, you can wheel them up to it and put their feet on the rebounder, and you can then bounce on it, and then their feet bounce up and down, and you're getting some circulation to the legs. If you can get them to sit on it, they can sit on it, so you're getting the legs, but then you can get the upper body by having them sit on it, and you can bounce on it, and then that then gets from the buttocks up, and it gets the top part of the body bouncing. It's a great tool that you can use. Some people use it before going to bed. Not aggressively, but they can bounce on it and it helps them fall asleep. It's great for the grandkids or the kids to use. Get some energy out of them. But yes, as you said, you can do it where, you're just going really, really fast, high intensity, and then bounce slow. And then really, really, really fast, and then slow. And you can go back and forth, like you're skiing. Poof, 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 poof. And you can do all kinds but start off first with the easy exercises. But that's a great tool that you can use. There you go. She was doing it there. Exactly. Yeah, you want to show them how you're doing that? Like skiing?
So the one that you're telling, it's the regular bounce, right?
Yes.
And then the ski one.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then the other one is like,
oh, yeah.
This is the hardest one.
It is.
Yeah.
The hardest one is to sit on it and bounce up and down. That's a hard one. Yeah, bouncing with your ear. So what tools can you do? Start off simple. Read. And then get your herb. Learn the herbs. Learn hydrotherapy. Learn how to do poultices. Potato poultices. Carrot poultices. banana poultices, mustard plasters. Bananas, did you know that you can do the inner side of a banana and use that for poison ivy? Now, does jewelweed grow here? Jewelweed. That is the best thing I found for poison ivy. But jewelweed is amazing. In Asia, China, Indonesia, Malaysia, come help me again. If you had an asthmatic attack, this is what they do. They will strip you from the waist up, and they'll take stinging nettle. Do y'all have stinging nettle? Mm-hmm. And they will whoop your chest, and then they will whoop your back, and they let you stay there until the asthmatic attack goes away. And then when the asthmatic attack goes away, then they dig a hole and they bury you with your head sticking out. Have you any ever seen folks do that in China or Malaysia or Indonesia? Your head sticking out, and they'll put a little umbrella over your head. And the mud will pull that stinging out. Now in South America, thank you, sir. In South America, in Venezuela, Colombia, Brazil, they use a lot of mud therapy, but they will just put it on you. Mud therapy is amazing. You can take some bentonite clay, mix some water with it, and then it's best to sit till the next day. Now, women are different than men. Y'all are just different. The favorite thing that our females wanted the last day of the program was their therapist to smather that stuff all over them, that clay stuff. I don't want you doing that to me, sir. I don't want some man rubbing stuff all over me. That just ain't going to happen. But y'all ladies don't have a problem with that. And they put that all over them, and then they let it just dry. And it pulls all those toxins out. You can do it for a facial, put it on your face. That's something for spouses to do. Usually if I'm here on a Sunday, I'll do that. I may have done that when I was here several years ago, I don't remember. And you can do bentonite clay, that pull the toxins out, and then wash it all out. And down in South America, they've got these big drains, because the regular drains you'll clog up. Or you can go outside and wash it off. And you leave it on about 30 minutes. But for a facial, you then take blackstrap molasses. Y'all know what blackstrap molasses is. And you then put it on the face. And their whole face is black with blackstrap molasses. You leave it on for 30 minutes. Then you wash it off, and oh, it feels so soft. And the husbands love touching their wives, and the wives touch their husband's face. How soft it is, honey. And you can do that with people. It's a simple thing that you can do with people. One, it's healthy, but you can break the ice with them. There's ear candling. There's just so many things that you can use. Any questions on that area?
I grow horrific big calluses on my feet, which I know is a protective thing for your feet. And then I happened to look up online about the bentonite clay, and I read that it was toxic, so I immediately stopped using it. Is it in fact toxic, or is it not?
There are some, it depends on you can get food grade, which is a lot better. Don't do what I did. I was looking for economical. So I went to the co-op and I bought 50 pounds of bentonite clay. Now that was for work. Well, I just bought Mary Lou a brand new blender. It was a Vitamix, yes. And I ran all 50 pounds through that Vitamix. You could waller that bottom like a loose tooth. And Vitamix was nice. We just bought it and they gave us a new one. But do not try to grind because what's at the co-op that they put in cattle feed for detoxing, it's not fine enough to do for a facial. So yes, you can buy it, which is food grade, where you can actually drink it. You can drink bentonite clay. It's like drinking activated charcoal. Yeah, if one's food grade, it should be fine because they protected it. See, with the toxic one is the one that they have for animals, and they just don't protect that. And it's been who knows where, and they just don't worry about the cows because they're going to kill the cows anyway, and and people are going to eat them. Another question.
I just have a comment.
Yes.
I bought some of the European clay,
Oh, yes.
and it's the same stuff.
Yeah, like the green clay, European clay? Yes.
And they told me that to never mix it in plastic and to never use metal in it, because when you stir it, use it with a wooden spoon, because it draws everything.
It's true.
It
It
will
does.
draw, and that it will draw the toxins out of your metal or whatever. So
Yes.
be careful.
It's true. I've never used green clay internally, and it may be. I just haven't.
It's a green clay.
Yes. They have something called French green clay, or some people call it European. Yes.
Okay. Now, my daughter has cerebral palsy. So is there anything that can help her? I know it's a neurological situation there again.
I don't have experience with that working.
Okay.
It's definitely going to be beneficial to use the laws of health, a whole food plant-based diet, but I've never seen it reverse. But remember what we put up earlier. And then some things, you know, look at, remember the splinter Paul had?
Yeah. It's
God didn't take it out.
I mean, she walks. I mean,
Yeah.
she works and everything like that.
Yeah.
What's anything to help her with it?
So, Doc, help me out here. In PT, is there anything that you can do for CP? For
I don't think there's any curative treatment, but I think you can have palliative treatment, but at least maintain what the person has, not losing it.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Would you use physical therapy as the treatment?
Yeah, I think basically they need a balance and mobility and strength and range
Okay.
of motion. And so I think a physical therapist would be the best.
Is that something an OT could be beneficial in?
Well, usually OT, the
Hand-wise?
discipline, they usually have upper extremity, especially
Yes.
hands.
Yes.
Of course, that's certainly, and also speech therapy.
True.
Yeah.
Yes, STLs. So you could look at some therapies that may help, but I don't know of a way to, and as he said, you may be able to slow down the process, but I don't know how to reverse that one.
Yeah. I mean, she's come a long way, actually.
Yeah.
They did surgery on her and everything like that with her Achilles heel and other surgeries. And so just her tightness of her legs, you know. Oh, it's just the tightness of her tendons and everything like that in her legs. Other than that, she's very functional.
I worked with a young boy for the last 21 years, and we find that when he eats a whole food, plant-based diet, versus, you know, going through those teenage years, now he's in his early 30s. When he went through phases of, I can do whatever I want to, and if he ate processed foods, I found that affected him. Moving is important. Yeah, following those 8 laws of health is beneficial, but I believe those therapies would be very beneficial. Yes. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
So I've read both. Thank you. I've read both. Can you hear me? I've read both sides of the story that juicing is very good for you, but I've also read no, it's better to chew your food because especially if you have problems with maybe diabetes or other problems, so don't juice. So I haven't juiced. I used to love to make carrot juice because I know, in fact, a book said that if you ate badly one day, if you took a nice juice, carrot juice the next day, it would cleanse you. So what is the real answer
Good question.
to that?
Juicing. So I have a friend, he's a physician, and I was talking to him one day about juicing. And he said, I don't recommend juicing to my patients because they miss 1/3 of their digestion. I said, but what if you did this? And then you swallowed it. He said that would work. Why? So you've got three major areas of digestion. The first part of the stomach, which does not have enzymes in it. It relies on the enzymes from either the food you eat, from heirloom food. Hybrid food don't have the enzymes. It also relies on the enzymes out of the saliva, the amylase, protease, and lipase, mostly amylase, to mix with it to break it down in that first part of the stomach. The first part of the stomach with fiber is going to take 30 to 60 minutes. For this little gentleman here, it's going to take 30 minutes. For us, it's going to take 45, maybe closer to 60 minutes, that first part. It's going to digest in the stomach 2.5 to 5 hours, we're told. The first part of the stomach that doesn't have those enzymes, that depends on the enzymes from the saliva or from your hybrid seeds, if you swallow that juice, then you're not filling it, impregnating it with enzymes. So, you ever made a cake? Okay, so you take the powder, pour in the liquid. Is it ready to go in the oven? You have the powder. You got to mix it. Or guys, if you're making sackcrete, concrete and wheelbar, you're going to put in your sackcrete. You're going to put in your water. You're going to pour it in, or you're going to take the hoe and mix it till all the powder soaks up the liquid and you have no dry powder. Okay, the same thing is supposed to happen in the mouth. The mouth has several goals. One is taste buds. What are the taste buds for? To encourage you to eat. Then you have teeth, and the teeth masticate, puree the food because you don't have teeth in your stomach. And then you've got a tongue that tastes, but a tongue that also helps waller stuff around. And the saliva does a couple things. One, it makes it more wet, so it's easier to chew. But the other thing is the saliva has enzymes, amylase, protease, and lipase. And as you chew, not swish, like a snake when it bites you, that going down pumps the venom in. When you chew, that motion of chewing, mastication, pumps saliva into your mouth. And so when you mix that juice with saliva, you're now loading that food with the enzymes. So then when it goes to that first part of the stomach, now it's not going to, because it doesn't have the fiber, it's not going to stay as long, but it helps that first part of digestion. Then when it goes to the second part of the stomach, it's got hydrochloric acid, it has more enzymes. And then when that chyme goes to the small intestines and to the duodenum, then it's got enzymes from the pancreas that are going to come, that you got from the gallbladder. It comes over, and that's going to start breaking it down. And so if you don't chew your juice and you just drink it and don't swallow it, swallow it and don't chew it, you're going to miss a large part of digestion. Juicing is therapeutic. Mary Lou feels the best when she juices. She's told me many times, I just want to juice the rest of my life. And I've told her, you cannot do that. You need fiber. But her digestive system, which has had problems since she had cancer 49 years ago, it just messed her up. And so what she deals best with digesting is just juice. Because when instead of 2.5 to 5 hours, it's in the blood within 15 to 20 minutes. And it doesn't take a lot of energy. And that's one of the reasons for juicing without the fiber, is that energy that you waste in that digestion process can go to healing the body.
So along with what you just hello. So along with what you just explained, what about a raw food? Everyday raw food, or for a long time raw food?
So raw food is good, but let's go back to nutrition class. The lycopene, you get more lycopene when you cook it. Beta carotene, you get more when you cook it. So on the tomato, like that Mater sandwich that I enjoy, I'm not getting a lot of lycopene. But when I eat tomato soup, when Mary Lou makes fresh tomato soup, I'm getting more lycopene. But I like the carrot. When I eat the carrot, you get a lot of things more nutrition when you eat it raw. But the beta carotene, you get more when it's cooked. So that's why you do kind of a combination to get more nutrients between cooked and raw.
What type of juices do you use?
What type of juices do I use? So,
You know, I know you're not going to just go down to Safeway and buy juices. Some of that stuff is
well,
really not juice, is it?
so I learned this from Doug Batchelor. I had a girl come in, and she looked bad. She looked like a whoop dog. I mean, bad. And she was on illicit drugs, and she stopped them and was having significant side effects, or withdrawals. She came over to our county, so she wasn't at the hospital at her county, and went to the ER, and the ER said, we don't deal with that kind of thing here. And this poor girl was in bad shape. She was, I forgot how old she was. She was in her 20s. She had twins that were 10 months old. She had lost everything in her drug abuse. She's living with her mother. Mother was taking care of the twins when she came to get help. And the ER said, we don't deal with that here, but go see Walt. Maybe he can help you. And see how having relationships with these people, don't ever tell people, oh, don't do what your doctor said. You're going to alienate you from them. You work with those doctors, and then they send people to you. And you say, go back to your doctor and work with them. And now those doctors help them come off their medications under supervision. And the docs send them to me to help with, because they don't have time to do lifestyle training. And so she comes, and we're talking, and I mean, she's bad off. And so I encouraged her. One of the best things I have found in that situation is to juice them. But she didn't have 2 pennies to rub together. And I said, do you think your mama could afford, do y'all have Dollar General?
Yes.
Okay. I said, do you think your mama can afford Dollar General V8 juice? She goes, yeah, I think she can afford that. Because Batchelor had said, you know, try V8 juice if they don't have the money. It's better than what they're eating now. I said, I want you to do 16 ounces at least 3 times a day. What's interesting in that same conversation, and this is how God puts you together. I said, you go to church? She says, I can't go to church. I said, what do you mean you can't go to church? She says, I'm not perfect. Satan lies to you, doesn't he? And I said, a church is for sinners. It's a hospital for sinners. I said, you killed anybody? She said, what? I said, you killed anybody? She goes, no, I ain't killed nobody. I said, you ever heard of this guy called David? No. And so I told her about David. Where David went and had a liking towards this lady, committed adultery, she got pregnant, and then he went and had her husband murdered. I said, you ain't killed nobody? She said, no, I ain't killed nobody. I said, God said this guy was a man after his own heart. God forgave him. I said, have you ever heard of Paul? No. I said, and I told her Paul's story and how he killed all them people, but God still loved him. And I said, and again I said, are you sure you ain't killed nobody? She said, no, I ain't killed nobody. I said, look at it. You ain't killed nobody. God loves you. You can go to church, and even if you do kill somebody, God will love you because he loved these 2 guys. That's what happens when you do medical missionary work. And if you will just, and I'm just no country boy. Grew up on a farm, and I know how to talk to these country people. And just don't be highfalutin. Just talk to them. And it was interesting. The next week, she came back, and my staff did not recognize her. She looked so good from drinking that V8 juice or that Dollar General V8 juice. But to answer your question, I like, if you can, you want a juice. Doc, are you familiar with the Angel Juicer?
No.
It's from Korea. It's an amazing juicer, and that's what we use. but use what you can use. Dr. Schultz says just use a juicer. But if you can't use a juicer, get some V8 juice. I started out, Dr. M taught me to use juicing. He's from Washington. Maybe some of y'all know Dr. M from Washington. And he taught me to juice using vegetable juice, maybe a little apple. Now M uses fruit juice. I had a doctor call me maybe a month ago, and she called me and she said she had a question on something, and she juices people with cancer, and she's using fruit juice. I said, is it working? She goes, yeah, it's working. And I said, is there not too much fructose? She goes, no. She says, the cancer's leaving. And I said, well, that's what M's saying up in Washington. And so it is true you've got more fructose in it. And so I still am conservative and stay more on the vegetable side, but that's what I use for juicing.
Is there a difference between juicing and smoothies?
Yes. So if the question is there a difference between juicing and smoothies? So if I want to really allow the body to rest, I'll use juicing. If I really want to attack a person that has a cancer or a person that has autoimmune, I do the juicing. Smoothies are good. I like smoothies. They have fiber in it. But I'm after that lack of energy expenditure that it takes to break the fiber down. Because fiber makes food time released. And now you have a longer digestion period that you can use that energy that went to digesting that fiber to healing the body. Yes, ma'am.
So then what is it called, the bulk of it when you juice, do you ever freeze that and use it for other things
The
later?
fiber?
Yeah, the other parts of it, the fiber.
Yeah, the fiber part.
Yeah.
Mary Lou will sometimes put it in other foods and not waste it to add fiber into loaves and different things. When we had goats, my goats loved it. What we use it for now is I put it in my garden compost.
You can dry it like crackers.
Oh, yes, you can dry it like crackers, yes.
Now I have a question now. Okay. Okay, we've conversed about fatty liver. So concerning fatty liver, they can't have no oil, no salt, and no sugar. Is that correct?
Definitely you want to stay away from the oil.
Yes.
But from the fatty liver, we've found that many times just doing that 5 day, you're doing the 3 day ahead of time, it's just an insurance policy in the event they had gallstones. But if they don't have a gallbladder, you don't even have to do the apple juice for 3 days. And you can just do that 5 days, or if you feel like you want to hit it really hard, do 11 days, or the night morning that we talked about. And it's amazing for fatty liver. I would add to that milk thistle and dandelion root.
Right.
That's also very good.
But no salt and sugar. That's what I'm asking about, the salt and the sugar and the oils.
Oil, yes.
For
I'd
the
stay
liver.
away from the oil, but I've never had a person stay away from the salt and sugar. Well, I encourage them to, but usually they aren't going to.
But then it kind of turn to alcohol, though, if the liver's not processing properly, the sugar?
It still works.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of these things are on Walt's website under resources. So the things that he's talking about, this juice cleanse, the liver cleanse, if you go to his website under resources, you'll see all the recipes and durations.
Yeah,
And
go to
everything.
education, then go to handouts, and you'll find a lot of that kind of thing. Thank you. You've gone to my website, haven't you? Check me out. There was a question over here.
So I'm actually conveying these questions for a close friend. And the questions both have to do with a little bit of cancer. So one question is charcoal in any of its forms, whether ingested or placed on the body, how does that help cancer? And the second question is somewhat related. Does a master cleansing, or can a person that's with cancer utilize the master cleansing beneficially? Thank you.
Yeah. For cancer, and I brought these because I wasn't sure what I was doing tonight. Charcoal poultices, definitely. Castor oil packs, definitely. And then there's herbal poultices like the herbs that you're using, like poke. Y'all have poke here?
Yes, we do.
Y'all got poke?
Yes.
Pokeweed. Yeah, poke root. Yeah, so poke root, you got to know what you're doing or you'll kill somebody. So it's poisonous if you don't do it right. So you take the root and you get it about the size of your thumb, and then you put it in a pot, pour in, or take a quart of water, bring it to a boil, put your poke root in there. Leave it for 20 minutes. And then you're going to pour that tea off because it's poisonous. Put another quart of water in there and boil it for 20 minutes. Pour that off because it's poisonous. The third one you boil for 20 minutes, it's going to be fine. Just make sure you count right. And then they can drink that. And then you take the root and you take a cheese grater and grate it. And then, so you have it grated up, and it's kind of like potatoes, grated up. And then I'll make a hamburger patty. And I'll put psyllium powder. I'm sure Mary Lou brought me some psyllium powder here. Yeah, just give them charcoal. Yeah. Charcoal's amazing. Oop. Yes. If you can get that one for me. Oh, there we go. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, but also doing,
Mustard.
from what I understand about the poke root versus the poke leaves and the poke seeds, now isn't like the winter time is better to use the poke root versus because the leaves are not growing in the winter? So do they kind of like have more energy in the root in the winter time versus the spring and the summertime?
I've only used it in the spring and the summer when they're growing.
Okay.
This is psyllium husk powder. I use it for making charcoal poultices. These are two great tools that you can use. Activated charcoal. And when I first started doing poultices, the first time Mary Lou ever did a poultice on me, she just put water in it and put it on me. I got stung 30-some times by yaller jackets. And I was just shaking. And she put it in her and mixed it up and put it on me like little globs. And I quit shaking. Fell asleep. I started shaking again. She came and assessed it, and she goes, to herself, she told me later, it's dry. I put it on like mud, now it's dry, and you shake it again. So she rehydrated it, and I quit shaking again. Well, then we started using things like ground flaxseed or ground oatmeal. Well, I hired this therapist out of Switzerland, and he used psyllium powder. It's the best way to make a charcoal poultice. You make it 1 part charcoal, 1 part psyllium, but this is a key, mix it thoroughly. You're putting in black, you're putting in tan, make it gray. Because if you have any tan that you can see, the psyllium will congeal, and then you'll have a mess with the charcoal. Mix it thoroughly. And then you do anywhere between 5 to 6 parts water. Start out with 5.5. Because this bottle might be 6. The next bottle in the same company might be 5. If it's 5 and it should be 6, it's going to be too dry. If it's 6 and it should have been 5, it's going to be too wet. So I start out with 5.5. And then I can then adjust it. And 5.5, you can kind of work either way with it. And so I mix them together, add the water all at once. And if you're going to use it right now, use warm water. Why? It's a vasodilator. You're drawing. And so it's a vasodilator on that skin. It's going to draw better. And it works great. And I make enough to you ever made biscuits? I come from the South. Or cookies? Do you make one thing of cookies at a time, or do you make a whole thing and then cut them out? So I make a whole mess of it. I'll make a big old thing of it, and then you can cut out what you want for using. And then I put it on cellophane, put cellophane on top, smash it down, roll it out to about 1/4 inch thick. And then pull it up, and I'll cut out what I want, where it's a patch to the eye, or you got a boil. You know what a boil is? A boil. Or you've got breast cancer, and you put it on there. And then you put it back, roll it up, and put it in the refrigerator. It's going to last about, this way, it's going to last about 5 to 7 days. It's kind of like grandma's bread. If you didn't eat it fast enough, it didn't have preservatives, it's going to mold. This does not have preservatives. It's going to mold. And so if you have more than what you need, cut that bit away, put it in a Ziploc baggie, put it in the freezer, and you can months, years later, and then thaw it out. But charcoal poultice is amazing. So back to the poke. So I'll take the poke and I'll grate it and make it like potatoes. And then I'll add just a little bit, maybe depending on how much poke I have, I might add a half a teaspoon of poke. And then I still hang on to that tea. And then if I need to hydrate a little more, I'll pour a little poke tea in there, and then I make a hamburger patty. And then you apply it to, say, the breast cancer or whatever you need to put it to. But poke poultices are very, very good. And then the poke tea is a great blood cleanser, but it kills cancer really good. Yeah.
How do you spell that word, the most anti-inflammatory herb in the world, copaiba?
Copaiba?
How do you spell that?
Some people pronounce it copaiba, but the people from Brazil say copaiba. It's copaiba, C-O-P-I-A-B-A, C-O-P-I-A-B-A.
Thank you.
It comes from a tree. What? I think it's AI. Oh, AI? It could be. Don't trust my spelling. I can't spell. I took phonics in school, and phonics does not work with this accent. Go.
There's a white. Question in
yes.
regards to turmeric.
Yes.
I've heard that you need to put black pepper with it in order to make it more effective.
Okay. So for the curcumin, you can add black pepper, but a company called Terry Naturally found a way to do it without the black pepper. You take turmeric essential oil and add with the curcumin, and it does the same thing as the black pepper does, but it doesn't have the irritant to the mucosa.
It's the pepperine and the pepper activates.
And so the turmeric extract will work the same way as the black pepper does to add to it. So you don't have to have the black pepper. So if you're wanting a pill, like Terry Naturally makes a product called CuraMed. And they have a CuraMin and a CuraMed. CuraMed, it takes up to 500 capsules of turmeric to equal that same CuraMed. Very strong. The CuraMed is more for inflammation pain, like arthritis inflammation pain. The CuraMin is more for pain. So the CuraMed is more inflammation, anti-inflammatory. The CuraMin is anti-inflammatory, but more for pain, like for nerve pain and that kind of thing. And so you have things that are super concentrated, like bromelain. Bromelain is from pineapple. Or D-mannose, which D-mannose is from, it can be either from cranberries or it can be from blueberries. Or you have something like this right here. This is what I gave that guy who had the MRSA that was vancomycin resistant. Who's ever seen this? Alimed. Have you seen it? Who's ever seen Alimed? Alimed. It takes 24 cloves to make one drop of this. It's very powerful. We sell it to physicians from Australia to Africa, all over the U.S., Canada. And it's super powerful. It blows vancomycin out of the water for if you have MRSA. It works much better. And I've even seen it on several folks who've had vancomycin-resistant MRSA. My son had Lyme disease. And he had it for, I don't know, almost 10 years. And we could not get rid of it. And so I called the company and I said, do you have any research on using this for Lyme disease? And they said, yes. So they sent me the study. And so we did 1 teaspoon twice a day for 3 months. The Lyme disease went away. It came back 6 months later. We did 1 more month. And this month is actually his 13th year of no Lyme disease. But Alimed, which is Allison. It's Allison. And it takes 24 cloves of garlic to make 1 drop of this. It's super powerful. We use it for H. pylori, C. diff, SIBO. So NIH says this product right here is antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, antimicrobial, and antiparasitic. Allime. So yes, Sure, just give me a call. You'll find it more expensive other places. So we wholesale it to physicians and we wholesale it to the public.
So does the plastic, so being in plastic, it doesn't affect it?
It doesn't. You can freeze it. Yeah. It has a shelf life of 2 years.
So are you having any success with Parkinson's?
I have seen success with Parkinson's. The first Parkinson guy I got was that when I did lifestyle. Do you know what Tyvek is? The stuff that you wrap around the house, or the FedEx little envelope. The guy who invented that for it's the people who used to own Montpelier in Virginia, Madison's home. But anyway, DuPont. He worked for DuPont, and he was the engineer that developed it. Well, he came to me with Parkinson's. He could not ambulate on his own. He figured he was about to throw in the towel. We found out that he was using a lot of aspartame in his diet drinks. And just discontinuing his aspartame significantly improved his mobility to where he could walk on his own. He actually rented a yacht and went out deep sea in the Atlantic Ocean with his family. Just taking aspartame away. Yes, we gave him a healthy diet. Yes, we did hydrotherapy. But I think the aspartame is what was really doing the problem. Again, go to what that surgeon taught me years ago. He said, Walt, you got to find if anything is causing the problem. Take it away, and many times it will improve. I found Dr. Kim, George Kim, the physician over in North Carolina, has found significant improvement with Parkinson's by using the far infrared sauna 20 minutes every day. I've seen people in the far infrared sauna get out and for the first time 2 hours to 4 hours of no shaking. And the more they use it, the more they don't have the shaking. Far infrared sauna. I've seen for some people when they ride a bicycle, that balance process, and it was a physician who figured this out. It helps with Parkinson's, and I've had people tell me it helps them with the Parkinson's when they ride a bicycle, not a stationary, but when they got a balance, ride around. Some people tell me dancing helps their Parkinson's. I don't agree with this one. We're dealing with a brain issue, and so some people say boxing helps with the Parkinson's. I don't recommend getting your head bashed in again. Then some people find that CBD oil from hemp. The problem with CBD oil in Parkinson's is it used to work very well, and it's not working anymore. And so when they first started doing CBD oil big back, 6, 8 years ago, the extraction was with alcohol, like a tincture. Well, they found another way of doing it, and I forgot how they do it. Walter's done a lot of research on this. And the new way is not as effective. There is a company called Charlotte's Web, and you can request. They have now put their old formula back on the market for this kind of a situation for people with Parkinson's. And I have seen the use of CBD oil significantly help with Parkinson's, the old extraction method versus the new. The new's just not working. I'd be curious to try the copaiba because it has a cannabinoid reaction just like the CBD does. But I just haven't had the opportunity to use that, or a person willing to use it.
I have one question.
Yes, go ahead.
I have one question. All right, so the good, bad, or ugly, I don't care, but have you ever had any experience of mixing the curcumin, the turmeric powder, in with, say, if you started with a whole bowl, like a bowl of cereal size of extra virgin olive oil, and then you put the curcumin in, and then you drank that every morning?
I've not had experience with that. Dr. Agatha would just take a teaspoon twice a day of the turmeric powder And I remember one person asked her, how much water do you put in the glass? She says, how long do you want to drink nasty? That's why we got along good. We had the same kind of personality. So she came off a dairy farm like I did. Maybe the dairy farm did it to us. But she did a teaspoon twice a day. But I've heard of that, but I've never had experience using it.
I had a friend who had four different types of cancer, and she had 4 stages of cancer in each form. And we built her a formula with the Israel formula of the powder, of the pure powder, the CBD oil, and we mixed it with a lot of different A and D3 and a whole bunch of stuff, and there was aloe vera in it, and there was, I think that one, CoQ10 was in it. I mean, it was all jacked up.
How did it work?
The doctors gave her about 3 days to 3 weeks, and we kept her alive with that stuff for 7 years.
Wow.
And then I've watched her die 3 times, and then we rubbed it on her head and stuff, and she had the chemo and everything. But when we rubbed it on her head, she was running around like a little kid the next morning. And she looked like she died the night before.
Yeah. Wow.
But I love that product. I use it on myself all the time.
Good. Yes. Who has? Okay, go ahead. You've got one.
So these are unrelated because you've jogged my memory. The hardest one, well, I'll give you the easy one. The ahordiolum, which is the sty, but it's in the lid more than the sty, because the sty could go up into the eye, I guess, the lid of the eye. Anyway, how do you get rid of that? Because I haven't succeeded. It's a bacteria, it's a staph infection actually, and I was told just to use hot compressed water, it doesn't help. My next question has to do with bread. I love bread, and everywhere you hear it's really not good for your joints, it's just not good for your overall health, but bread is so yummy. I mean, it's in the Bible too, so. Anyway, and the last one is H. pylori. I've read that 50% or more of the population has it.
That is
so
correct.
is it good, bad, or indifferent? And I was told I had it, but I got rid of it. What if I didn't? Is it that detrimental?
Yes. The first question?
The first one was the
sty.
hordeolum.
Yeah, like a sty. The eye doctor that used to work with me, the first thing he would say for that is there adequate hydration? And then he would make sure there's no makeup. And then he talked about where you can take that and does it involve the duct? Is it at a tear duct?
It's right in the middle of the lid.
So it's probably not a duct then. So you can try a poultice, but I would try to attack the virus by using colloidal silver. So colloidal silver is a great antiviral. Do you work in healthcare? Do you know what Silvadene is? Y'all know what Silvadene is. We used it for burn patients. Great. Pardon? So Silvadene is like a silver. And so the colloidal silver, you can spray in the eye or put drops in the eye. It's just a great antiviral to deal with eye infections that are viral. And you can also put a charcoal poultice on it. That's what I would do.
Have you ever done the charcoal, charcoal in water and then you extract that water too?
Yes, it's called a slurry.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, absolutely you can. Yes. Oh, and then the bread? No, the second one was the H. pylori. H. pylori, and you've read the same thing I have. And it was NIH, I think I was reading, that said, or maybe it was WHO, that said it's probable that 50% of the world population has H. pylori, Helicobacter pylori. And it's a bacterial, and it can cause problems. It can cause ulcers. And so many times when I get a person that really has some digestive issues, I say, let's, and it's not really resolving, and I ask them to go get an H. pylori test, whether it's a breath test or, however they're going to test it. The doc chooses to test it. And so what we'll use, if it comes back positive, I'll use, my daughter had it, and it seemed like it, and so I sent her to a friend that tested. And so we used Alimed, that right there, and we did 1 teaspoon twice a day for 45 days, along with a good probiotic. And it works very well for H. pylori. And then for the bread.
Should you get rid of the H. pylori if you have it?
I would, yes. Should you get rid of H. pylori? I would think so from what I know, because it can cause problems. It can cause digestive problems. It can cause ulcers. It's a bacteria, and it's kind of, it looks like a little curly thing. The other for bread.
Because it's hybridized.
Yeah. Have you ever used jovial wheat? Mm-hmm. Anybody ever used jovial wheat? You've used jovial? You have? Okay. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at health food stores. It comes out of Italy. It has 14 chromosomes. It has no Roundup on it. And many times people can do that and not have problems. It doesn't bother me at all.
So should one stop eating the regular breads?
I would, yeah.
Even if it's those old...
Should you quit eating regular breads? And even if it's einkorn. And einkorn...
And spelt, and there's old flours that are supposed to be better for us.
Yes, as long as you can assure that it's the 14 or 16 chromosomes. But I bought the einkorn that has claimed from the company that it was the old one, sent it off for testing twice, and it was the 42 chromosome because cross-pollination. But they just didn't know it, I don't think. You got to keep testing. Yes.
I think Joy has
Okay.
a question
Yes.
first.
I don't know if you've already answered this question. I was downstairs. I've got a thyroid problem. I've been taking medication for it, and I've been taking levothyroxine, and I was just told that my thyroid was really low. I would like to get off of this medication. I don't see any benefit except my thyroid going crazy or something. So what could I take?
What's your TSH?
I don't know. I just found out. I've been taking levothyroxine 1.12, and it's not working.
So if you have hypothyroid, you have
Hypo.
Hashimoto, and you have hyperthyroid as options.
I have hypothyroid.
So with hypothyroid, there's 4 things that you don't do with any of the types of thyroid problems. Number 1 is you don't want any type of chlorine, no fluoride, and no bromide. Bromide is a dough enhancer, a dough preservative. It's in soft drinks. It's in all kinds of food as a preservative. They're smaller. As you look at the periodic table, it's above iodine. And what it does, it inhibits the thyroid from absorbing iodine properly. It clogs that up. And so you want to stop any type of chlorine, fluoride, which can be in water, or in toothpaste, fluoride, and bromide. The 4th no is wheat, and we're seeing more and more documentation on the American wheat and its effect on thyroid function. So those are 4 no's. Dr. Agath's told me that if you eat 1 wheat cracker, it can kick on problems, thyroid arthritis, psoriasis, eczema, rosacea. It can kick it on for 2 to 2.5 months. And you need to be off it for 3 to 4 months to plumb get it out of your system. She said it can take that long. The problem with wheat, and let's say you get a test, and you think, well, do I have issues with wheat? And I was having people who would come in and say, I really feel like I'm having problems with wheat when I eat it. But they go to the doc, and the doc did test it, and it showed up not a problem in the blood test. But around 2 years later, they would then get tested, and it would show they were gluten intolerant. So I mentioned that to a friend of mine, Dr. Arvo Connor, the neurologist that I've mentioned several times. And Arvo says you're right. He said the VA, Veterans Administration, found that the test that they use for testing for gluten intolerance is not, it's not sensitive enough. And so you have to be really bad for it to pick it up. And it can take several years for you to be really bad. So you can't trust that test at first. That's the thing, that's the no's. Then the things that you won't. Now, one thing you want to look at is what is your free T4? Free T4. If the free T4 is in range, then you're fine taking iodine. If you have hypothyroidism, but you have let's say a high T4, you have to be careful because you can push yourself, by taking iodine, you can push yourself into hyperthyroidism. From what I understand from Dr. Lee and from Dr. Fletches. So you want to check what your free T4 is. But iodine works well. And if they don't have a high free T4, Dr. Fletches would use 12.5, 25, as much as 50 milligrams of iodine for the hypothyroid. And then you can use B2 and B3. B2, 100 to 200 milligrams. B3, 500 to 1,000 milligrams. And that helps your body's absorption of iodine. Then you want zinc, somewhere between 30 and 50 milligrams of zinc. But if you take 40, 50 milligrams of zinc, too much zinc can lower your copper, so you may need some 3 to 5 milligrams of copper. Men are more prone to lose zinc than women are. The other is selenium. You want 200 to 400 micrograms, MCGs, of selenium. And then you want L-tyrosine. That's an amino acid, anywhere between 500 and 1,000 milligrams of L-tyrosine. The other thing on thyroid is you want to look at the adrenals, because blown adrenals can affect thyroid function. And stress blows the adrenals. There's another thing that when Lifestyle Centers of America found is that high-intensity training has been found to improve thyroid function. There's a doctor up in Washington, I forgot his name. He would do, for hypothyroidism, he would do poultices. Like he would do a week of charcoal poultice, a week of bentonite clay poultice over the thyroid, and then a week of castor oil pack. And he would rotate it. And he found benefit by using those poultices. So that's what I use for thyroid. There you go.
What about cerebral palsy? No,
Okay.
What
me-
about Bell's palsy?
Okay, let me grab these folks and I'll come back. They already have mine. Yes, go ahead.
General question is, right now, it was how to stock your home with natural remedies, but now we're just doing random Q&A. So
That's
I'm
correct.
just hoping, did you cover everything in that topic for how to stock your home with natural remedies? And can we look at your products in your suitcase too?
Absolutely.
Thank
You
you.
can look at the.
So that was all. I
So,
just didn't want to get.
I don't want to overwhelm people on how to start, because there's a lot of tools that you can use. I mean, I use testing, where I'm testing pH, I'm testing people's conductivity, I'm testing various things. But let's start simple, basic to start with, and then you can get into more items. Yes, sir. Blue?
Sale has a couple of questions. He was wondering about brain inflammation, if you have any ideas.
Yes.
For that.
For brain inflammation, I would use frankincense. And frankincense will cross the blood-brain barrier, essential oil. You put a drop on your thumb, hold it at the roof of your mouth for 2 minutes. And that has been found to lower brain inflammation. I would also try the copaiba, because that's very good for inflammation. And I would also try the copaiba. I do not know if it works crossing the blood-brain barrier, but I know it works very well PO under the tongue. And so you can do copaiba, you can do 2 to 4 drops twice a day. And the copaiba is very good for helping with inflammation. Turmeric is good for inflammation. But what things can cause inflammation? Processed foods, sleep deprivation, even stress. There's things that can cause inflammation. Another thing that's good for inflammation is MSM. That's like Mary, Sam, Mary. It comes from trees, and when it goes into your body and you take it in, it turns into DMSO. Veterinarians use it a lot for horses and dogs. It works very well for horses and dogs. The veterinarians say it doesn't work well for cats, but human doctors use it for inflammation. It's also a blood purifier, and that's why you start off with 1 teaspoon twice a day, and then for a week, and then you go to 2 teaspoons twice a day. There's 2 things on MSM you have to be cautious. One is you can't put it in water that has chlorine. Chlorine neutralizes MSM. Another thing that will neutralize MSM is citrus. So you don't want to put it in orange juice, lemon juice, and then you don't want to put it in your stomach. You take it before breakfast and then go eat an orange or a grapefruit, because if there's citrus in your stomach, then it will neutralize it. So you can take it, say 30 minutes, an hour before breakfast, get it through the stomach, and then you can enjoy your orange and your orange juice and your grapefruit and that kind of thing. You just don't want it in the stomach at the same time or in a product at the same time that either has chlorine or citrus. But MSM is a great product. I've had guys who are farmers that are very demanding on them. And you have to use as much as 2 tablespoons twice a day. I had a guy come out of Texas one time that was going vacation over in the Smokies, and he stopped in to get it. He said it took 3 months to start working. It took that long. But he said he wouldn't do without it, again, because it helps him so much as an anti-inflammatory. You can try the Terry Naturally, the Curamed. You can do like 2 caps twice a day, and they have a guarantee. If it doesn't work, you don't see any benefit, take it back and they'll get your money back. And you can get that at your local health food store. That's a very good.
What was the name of that again?
Curamed, Curamed, by Terry Naturally. I like Terry Naturally. They have good products, but also they have a guarantee on all their products. Like they got a great product for neuropathy, peripheral neuropathy, and it's called Healthy Feet and Nerves. I probably see that working well over 90% of the time. It's a great product. You do 2 capsules in the morning, 2 capsules at night. It takes about 3 to 4 days, 5 days maybe to kick in, but then it's just great for neuropathy. It also worked for neuropathy problems in the hands. They also use it for shingles, for the shingle pain. Now, what I like using for shingles is 800 milligrams of olive leaf extract, and I learned this from Dr. Agatha, 800 milligrams of olive leaf extract 3 times a day. It's an antiviral and it kills the shingles virus. Then do B-complex, a B-complex 100, 1 each meal, and many times shingles is exacerbated by stress, and B-complex is great for stress. And then she taught me to use a charcoal poultice on the shingle, but then I learned from several customers of mine that the castor oil pack works better for shingles than even the charcoal. It dries it up better, it drives it in better, and it helps better for the shingles pain. And so that's the 3 things I use for shingles. But they're now telling us that the Terry Natural Healthy Feet and Nerves is also good for shingle pain.
His second question was
Yes.
about muscle rigidity, spasticity. You know, he's having issues there. You got any ideas?
B vitamins are very important for nerves and muscles. And I would try B-complex. B-complex is more wider spectrum, and I learned that from an old doc at Florida Hospital back in 1978. He was a regular drug-writing doc, but he really found B-complex helped a number of areas. And so like a B-complex 100 twice a day. You can also try magnesium, which is very, very good for muscle issues, to bowel tolerance, 400 milligrams, 2-3 times a day to bowel tolerance. Use a broad spectrum like a mag citrate to bowel tolerance. Another one you could try is try the Copaiba for that. You can also try Lobelia. Lobelia is an antispasmodic on low dose.
I think I got behind.
Lobeli, pardon?
I was at Copaiba.
Copaiba, 2 drops twice a day. And you can also put the Copaiba transdermally neat on the area. Neat means by itself. And you can put the essential oil directly onto the area and see if that helps, the Copaiba. And then the, what was the other one I mentioned?
Lobelia.
Lobelia, yeah. The mountain women call it Lobeli. And Lobelia is an antispasmodic. It falls in the nightshade family, so if you have issues with nightshades, you may have a problem. But on low dose, it's an antispasmodic. You can use it for smoking. It's in a lot of smoking products because there's a chemical in it that makes it mimics what nicotine does. And so you don't, your body thinks you're taking the nicotine. And so it helps with the cravings, but also with your withdrawals. It also can make the cigarette taste bad if you smoke a cigarette. You use tobacco. Okay? Lobelia is a nightshade, so you may have to be careful there. Lobelia, on a low dose, is an antispasmodic. We use low dose like if you're doing a gallbladder cleanse and you don't want the bile duct, gallstone to get stuck in the bile duct. You can take the Lobelia and it dilates the bile duct so that the gallstone can go through. But also, you can use it as a fomentation. Take the tea or something, and I've used it on areas that were spasming. And you can make a fomentation of the tea. It transdermally goes into the muscle, and it helps as an antispasmodic. Now, on high dose, Lobelia is a spasmodic. Don't give it to a dog. It can kill it. But there are some physicians that use it as a spasmodic. You just want to be careful. You can take too much of it. It works like Ipecac, but it seems to be a more narrow fairway. And so I'm more cautious using it as a spasmodic. How do you know how much to take? Start out with 25 to 30 drops 3 times a day. Usually an adult can do 30 drops. If it starts to make you a little nauseous, cut back. And that's moving towards the spasmodic side.
When you're talking about drops, you're talking about it in your mouth?
Yes, drops in your mouth. Also, if you have stomach, you know how your stomach kind of gets tore up, spasms, you can take it by mouth and it can help stop stomach spasms. So it's a great tool. It's also extremely good for lung function. And so if a person's having pulmonary issues, they can use Lobelia, like mullein. Mullin's my favorite for the lungs. And eucalyptus is excellent. Both of those are bronchial dilators. But the Lobelia is also a very, very good tool for the lungs. And those of y'all that may have some lung issues, I had 2 surgeons teach me this. You take your nebulizer, fill it up to the line with distilled water, add 4 drops of eucalyptus essential oil, good quality. And the nebulizers, you have to have some mineralization to cause electrolysis. And so you can put like 1 kernel of the big, or a few kernels of little Celtic salt or the Himalayan salt or something that causes mineralization. Or you can put a drop of trace minerals. And then you can nebulize that, and it works better than albuterol. You don't have the side effects that you see with albuterol, and it's going to be a lot cheaper than albuterol. And so that's a tool that you can use to nebulize as a bronchial dilator.
With that recipe, I have put in, just like, it's like a hot shot, just a squirt of...
Oh, can you take it to her down there?
Squirt of mullein, and then like 1 or 2 drops of eucalyptus in it. Is that okay too?
Oh, absolutely. So she said that she'll use the mullein, and then she'll use the eucalyptus essential oil. Go back to when we were kids. My grandma, my daddy's mama, she had Vicks salve in her purse 365 days a year. I mean, she'd smear it all over your chest. And if you had a sore throat, she says, "Come here, boy." And she'd take it out, and she'd stick it down and make you swallow it. It got rid of a sore throat. It's petroleum jelly. It's not the best for you. But eucalyptus is in it. That's why it works so well up your nose and on your chest for congestion issues. Eucalyptus is powerful. Yes?
I was going to ask one last question. You said earlier that you would start gardening, you would put 10 herbs that you could use. Do you have like 5 that you would grow in your garden? What would be the best place to start?
I would look at your health problems. But some herbs that are very valuable to health is mullein. That grows here? Yes. Mullein. Nettle. I mean, people use nettle for food. Go to Europe. Look in other parts of like Washington State and in Minnesota. Women put it in their soups and their stews. Nettle's a good one. People really get upset when I share this one with them. And they've worked years to get it out of the yard. Dandelion.
Dandelion has more vitamins in it than spinach.
Oh, yeah. The most nutritious plant, the most nutritious plant, that's the correct word, the most nutritious plant in North America is stinging nettle. Yeah. The number one herb that survivalists, what they call them, preppers, are taught is dandelion, because oh yeah, it's so nutritious. And dandelion, the leaf is it's good for food. Where I live up in the mountains, the poor Appalachian folk, their kids go out and pick that. That's what they eat for dinner. And the Koreans do the same. Okay.
Russian ladies come and pick them out of our yard.
Oh yeah, it's great food, nutritious wise. And also we use it for the root. I use for liver and kidney problems. Like if you have a person who's in renal failure, literally within 3 months, we see renal failure totally reverse. We'll do the Duke diet, and then we'll do corn silk. We'll do dandelion root, CoQ10, and activated charcoal. It reverses. And then for liver, you'll do the dandelion root and the milk thistle. And then for edema, it appears, and I find, and I was using root, and Dr. Collins told me to swap over to leaf, and I find leaf works a lot better. For lung congestion, edema in the lower extremities, leaf seems to work better for that. And so dandelion is just a great product. If you can grow golden seal, will golden seal grow here? Yes. Yeah? How about thyme? Ginseng. Will that grow here? Yes? It does grow here?
Pretty sure it does.
All right. We call it sang. And then if you're going to go pick it, you'll say, I'm going singing today. It means you're going picking ginseng, singing. Ginseng is, do you use it a lot in Korea? It is huge. Very nutritious for you. It has many benefits if you can grow that. The Oregon grapefruit that we talked about earlier, that's something that will grow here. So those are some things you can. Corn silk. Now you got to grow your own corn, and it needs to be heirloom corn, but corn silk is super, super good for kidney function or as a diuretic. Dry it? You just dry it? Yes. And so the corn silk, you have to be careful. Just like putting up hay. You can't put up hay wet. And so corn silk has a propensity to when you shuck it, it wants to lay there and it's wet. Yes, and mold. And so what you do is you take your spare bed, put a sheet on it. My great-granddaddy, he'd just put it up in the hayloft. Who knows what ran all over it? But it worked. In 1958, he was a veterinarian. Before he was a veterinarian, he graduated from nursing school from Florida Hospital in 13, he and my grandmother. And in 1958, at 72 years old, he self-diagnosed himself with renal failure. He goes off the mountain to Chattanooga to a physician. They didn't have dialysis back then. And the doc told him down in Chattanooga, he says, Doc Smith, just going back home, you're going to die. You have renal failure. So Granddad went back home, and he told me all he did was just drink a lot of corn silk tea. Granddad lived till that was 1958. I was 30-some years old when he died. He lived to 105 and a half years old. The renal failure totally went away by using the corn silk tea. Yeah, that's all Granddad did. And prayer. He believed in God. He worked for Kellogg. And so he learned this stuff from working for Kellogg up in Battle Creek. So corn, and so you toss it and then kind of let it dry that way, yeah.
Okay. Now, concerning, I don't think, you said you're going to talk about Bell's palsy?
Okay, so Bell's palsy, usually Bell's palsy is not long-term.
Yes.
It can be longer term, but usually it's a short-term item. I use lobelia.
Okay.
It's an antispasmodic. And so also I like using B-complex for the nerves. So on the lobelia, you can use a lobelia extract, and then you can use the B-complex. You can also do calendula to the area, transdermal, and you can also do a calendula tea to the area where you're having the problem.
You can see that Walt will go all night. But if you were here Friday night, you know you have 7 minutes before you need to be asleep.
We got to go, guys.
And he needs to be on an airplane at 4:30 tomorrow morning.
And it's 7 till midnight at home.
That's right. So we thank him for coming, and please go to his website. Piles of information there as well. And we'll have him back next year. And we also have 2 more upcoming events. We're going to have somebody here this summer that'll teach you how to be foraging and gather your own herbs and your own food. And then in the August, we'll have somebody here, just like we did last year, that'll teach you about hot and cold fomentations and poultices. And they'll do live demonstrations. So you'll want to sign up for our newsletter if you haven't already, and you'll be able to stay up to date on all of that stuff.
But I'm going to take them out there and you can look at them. And
So
there's
you'll come
cards
out
here.
there.
Yes.
Yep. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Thank the Lord. Dear Lord, we want to thank you. Thank you again for all your many blessings. Thank you for all this information. Thank you for Walt's ministry, Lord. Thank you for guiding and directing him. Thank you for keeping him safe while he travels, Lord. Keep us safe as we travel home, and help us, Lord, to be able to absorb this and to use it all this knowledge to your honor and glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.